What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your licensed real estate market expert here in Charlotte, and it is my favorite time of year for real estate. Fall, winter, from right now, September, to up until about February, even the early weeks of March. This is absolutely my favorite time for real estate. Spring and summer are great, don't get me wrong. There tends to be a lot more activity than there is in the fall and winter. However, if you're somebody looking for price, if one reason you're not buying a house, or if you're somebody looking for a good deal, fall and winter time, historically, when looking at the data, we expect prices to come down. There's less buyers looking. However, with that, there is also less sellers, except for the fact that this year has been absolutely crazy. And just a quick spoiler alert, new listings is up again, and I don't think this is going to stop. I think every single month from now on, for the next 6 to 8 months, maybe even more, we're going to have the new listings being higher year over year. And as we head into this season, the real estate season that I like the most, I think the new listing trajectory is going to continue. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about because rates have started to move. Have buyers come off the sideline? Are we seeing multiple offers and things like that starting to happen? So we'll get into all that, but if you're somebody that's fixated, or if you're potentially looking for a good opportunity, this might be a good time for you to jump into the market. Now between February, if you're a first-time home buyer, I definitely think it might be a good time for you because once spring and summer come, and again, this spring, this summer was horrendous. It was so slow. It did not feel like the same market it did the couple of years prior. But first-time home buyers and people looking to get into the market, it might be a really good opportunity for you to do so now. So let's talk about a couple things here. Charlotte was actually just voted the 8th best housing market in the country. They did this based off of supply and demand and overall financial health of the Charlotte area. This does not surprise me. When you compare Charlotte to some of the other major cities that are comparable to Charlotte, I'm not talking about a New York, I'm not talking about a California, other comparable cities potentially like Austin, Texas, or Nashville. When compared to those other cities, Charlotte, the real estate market is still holding on very strong. We have not seen big changes in price. There are normal changes. There are seasonality changes taking place. However, I do want to say there's so many opportunities in the market right now. I have a closing this week. My client's house appraised for over $30,000 more than what we got it for, and we also got all of the closing costs paid for. That's almost $40,000 of equity, and he got all of his closing costs paid for. There's lots of this stuff out there. And don't take my word for it. I can't run through the entire Charlotte market and pull up every single house and things like that. What you can do is go on Zillow, go on Redfin, go on Realtor.com, type in a neighborhood. For example, Stonehaven. I love Stonehaven neighborhood. Type in Stonehaven and then go to year 2021, 2022, and 2023. See how many houses were listed in each of those years and see how many houses are listed today. You will see that the change is going to be dramatic. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 times the amount of houses than we've had in the last couple of years in each neighborhood. So with all of that additional inventory, a lot of sellers right now in neighborhoods are experiencing more competition because you're not the only house for sale in the neighborhood and you're not getting the multiple offers that you were before. So now sellers are actually having to sit down and look at the data, and depending on how quickly you want to sell, do you want to sell it in a couple weeks, a couple months, 6 months, whatever the case is, you're going to have to compete with the other houses that are sitting on the market. So now when I'm showing houses, typically there is multiple properties in a neighborhood. If they fit the criteria, in one neighborhood, we initially wanted to see one house, but while we're there, let's just go ahead and take a look at these other 2 or 3 houses in the neighborhood and let's compare them. And then when you start kind of comparing those, you have more options. So we're seeing a lot of those changes take place, which is very interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Our inventory is still very low. However, we're literally almost 5 times the amount of inventory than we had when the market was at its lowest. That is a dramatic change. And according to the numbers, when we're talking about inventory, when we're talking about days on market, we're looking at 2018, 2019 pre-pandemic numbers. And I just see inventory getting higher. Speaking of inventory getting higher, rate cuts. We're starting to see a lot of rate cuts happening. I'm going to get into an opinion that I had that I've actually changed because I want to share it with you guys. And also let me know what you think in the comments. Rates are starting to come down. The Federal Reserve is expected to do more rate cuts and things like that. So right now you're looking at low 6s to high 5s, depending on your credit score and or your down payment. However, mortgage applications are at an all-time low. Even though the rates are dropping, we are still roughly about 1% higher than we were last year in regards to interest rates. But even though the rates are starting to come down, mortgage applications are still at an all-time low, and buyers just are not biting on a lot of the houses that are out there. People are just kind of sitting, waiting around to see what happens, waiting for the days on market to go up so they can negotiate a lot more and try to get the best deal possible. Now, in regards to my opinion that I've changed, I've said it a lot. I've said it, hey, if you wake up tomorrow morning and interest rates drop, all hell might break loose and we might start seeing the prices start skyrocketing again. However, I don't believe that anymore. Right now, the housing, the level of affordability has gotten so out of hand that even the rates coming down will not help people gobble up the inventory. There's only so many people that are willing to pay $35,000 for a brand new Honda Accord. If you get kind of what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is a lot of stuff is overpriced and people have had it up to here with the real estate prices. And they're like, hey, I am done. I don't need to buy. It's no longer better to buy than it is to rent because that $400,000, that $450,000 house that I have to pay $3,200 a month for in mortgage, I can go rent a similar house in the same neighborhood for $2,600. So more people have the options, and right now you still have the high prices, you still have the relatively high interest rates compared to last year, and people are just kind of waking up. People are tired of it. They're over all the BS that the market went through these last couple of years. That's why we're starting to see these changes, and rates have come down, but mortgage applications are still at the lowest, and activity, personally, from what I've seen, is not picking up, even though the rates have come down almost 1%. So are there people that have waited on the sidelines, that are waiting on the sidelines, and that have jumped back into the market now that the rates dipped down a little bit? 100%. I just don't think to the level of what people expected it to happen. Now, on that same train of thought, the people that bought last year, within the last year, year and a half, possibly even 2 years, that bought a house at a 5.25% interest rates, they are also waiting on the sideline for the rates to come down. I think if we see the rates eventually, maybe not this year, but maybe early next year, maybe even springtime, if things are done accordingly and within time frame, if the rates get to 5.5 or 5.25, a lot of the people that bought within the last 2 years or so are going to say, hey, let's list it. I don't like this neighborhood. I want a new house. We need a bigger space. We need a different school district. And with that, I think we're going to get even more influx of inventory. We're already having steady month over month, year over year growth in inventory. More growth in inventory, less closed sales, less pending sales. It just builds up our inventory over time. And if the rates get relatively low, a lot of sellers that are hesitant to sell because right now they don't want to have a 6% interest rate. They're really good with the 5% that they have now. And if they want to upgrade, they are going to come off the sideline as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens once these things start to take place. But again, it's fall heading into winter, my favorite time. There are deals out there to be had. One last thing before we jump into the numbers. Everybody uses Zillow. I want you guys to go on Zillow, pick North Charlotte, South Charlotte, West Charlotte, East Charlotte, whatever you want to do. Go to maybe 2-3 houses in North Charlotte, 2-3 houses in South, East, West, do the same thing. And scroll down and look at the Zestimate of what Zillow thinks your house is worth. A lot of houses that I'm seeing, the values are going down. I'm seeing anywhere from $2,000, $3,000, even $5,000 to $7,000 of price decreases in the last 30 days. They have a little tab that says in the last 30 days, as opposed to what was happening when the market was crazy. Everything was up, up, up. Sellers didn't care about the Zestimate. They said, no, my house is worth way more. My house is worth way more. Now the Zestimates on Zillow are starting to dip down. The prices are starting to go down, and a lot of people don't like that. So do that little experiment for yourself. Go on Zillow, pick a bunch of different houses, and scroll down to the Zestimate and see the price change in the last 30 days. You would be surprised at what you'll actually find out. With all that being said, you guys always know you can call, text, or email me anytime. My contact information is right here. Love to chat with you. Love to help you with the house search and or helping you sell a house. But with that being said, let's jump into the stats. So in regards to new listings, we had 5,093 new listings, and that is a 10.1% increase from this time last year. And again, look at the last 2 years. Negative 14.5%, negative 9.4%. And to have a 10% jump in the month of August is very interesting. We had similar jumps the month prior, the month prior, the month prior. I think the new listings year over year will continue to go in this trajectory, even though we're heading into the quote unquote slower season of real estate. In regards to pending sales, we had 3,867 home sales pending. That is an 8.7% increase from this time last year. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a relatively big spike from this time last year in regards to pending sales. However, the new listings are still outweighing the pending sales. And as I said, this is what gives us that base, because all of that inventory that is not being bought is sitting. Prices are coming down. They're taking a lot less than the listed price of these homes. And in turn, this gradual process, prices should be coming down. Now, an interesting stat that I sometimes go over when it is relevant, when I think we should talk about it, and that is closed sales. Closed sales is not pending sales. Pending sales is how many houses went under contract and are expected to close. Closed sales is the whole sale went through and the house transferred ownership. So in regards to closed sales, we had 3,706 closed sales, and that is an 8.3% decrease from this time last year. But take a look at the 2 years prior. Minus 19%, minus 9.5%, minus 8.3%. Every August year over year, we've been negative. And even if you look at the graph, guys, you see these drastic changes happening. Why has it been negative year over year for the last 3 years? Because prices kept going up, because interest rates kept starting to go up, and the affordability is not there. And again, people have had it up to here with the housing market and not being able to buy a home. You need to roughly make a minimum, according to a study in Charlotte, $80,000 to afford a starter home. This isn't a home that's in the greatest neighborhood ever. This is a starter home. You need to make a minimum of $80,000 to have a starter home here in the Charlotte area. So people are fed up with it. But now we're starting to see kind of people draw the line. Hey, I'm not paying this. I don't think this is worth that much. I'm good. I don't want a house right now. I'm just going to go rent the same exact house for $500 cheaper than my mortgage would be. Days on market is up again, 13.3%, and it came in at 34. Again, this is average days on market, so you can expect 34 days. There are still houses that get snagged up relatively quickly. Now, a little tip I kind of want to tell you, a lot of houses are not created equal. But if you're somebody that's in the market for something very unique and that unique piece of real estate pops up, you should move forward with it. Now, on the contrary, on the other hand, if you're somebody looking at like a new construction neighborhood that is a master plan community like Millbridge and Waxhaw, for example, thousands and thousands of homes in that community, and you can find other very, very similar homes in the area, don't rush yourself. If you're looking for something unique and you find it, move forward because it might not pop up again. If you're looking for something that pops up on the market a couple of times a week or even a couple of times a month, take your time looking for that house. Now let's get into the average sales price and the median sales price. Average sales price came in at just over $501,000, and that's a 5.8% increase from this time last year. I want you guys to know, in May of this year, the average sales price was just over $522,000, and we're at $501 now. You're looking at a $21,000 difference of the average sales price since the month of May. Now, averages, you know this, they take into consideration all of the real estate. The house is priced at $300,000, the house is priced in the multi-millions. To get a better representation of the pricing, I always recommend looking at median price point, unless you're somebody that's, only looking at houses $700,000 and up. Median price point came in at just under $400,000 at $399,000, 3.6% increase from this time last year. However, $11,000 less than our all-time highs of $410,000 than we had in the month of May. So it's very interesting, but there's a lot of discrepancies. I showed one of my clients two houses in the 28269 zip code at $350,000 and under. In my mind, to be honest with you, was kind of boggled because I was like, these are nice houses. Like, these neighborhoods are not bad at all. They're nice neighborhoods, and this is a nice 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home on a quarter-acre lot, and it's in good condition. It's maintained very well. To find a house in that 350 is absolutely amazing. So even though the median sales price is saying roughly about 400 or so, you can get a relatively nice house in the Charlotte area depending on location for roughly around $350,000. Essentially lower than what the median price is. But obviously, if you're in a position where you could do median price and over, you'll have a lot more options out there for you. Now let's talk about percentage of the original list price received, which came in at 96.6. That is a 1.4% decrease from this time last year. Essentially, this stat is telling you on average you could expect to pay 3.4% below the listed price of a home when you are closed. I mentioned this in the last video. These are the same numbers we saw in 2017, 18, and 2019. Not all of the houses are created equal. Now when I'm showing houses to buyers, I don't know the seller's position. I don't know what's happening. All I know is the data that I can see online. So sometimes I'll ask my client if they like the house, but maybe they want to change a couple things. I would ask them, for example, hey, the house is priced at $525,000. What if we can get this at $500,000 with $10,000 in closing costs? Is that something you'd consider? And if they say, yeah, I call the agent and say, hey, listen, the house is nice, but it has XYZ going on with it. If your seller would be open to doing maybe $500,000 and $10,000 in closing costs, my client would very strongly consider it, and we might be able to get that offer into you in the next couple of days. Just that little thing alone, just that little thought in their head, you'd be surprised at how much that actually works, or in how many times you can come to a meeting of the minds, to a conclusion, and find a good price that works for both parties. So even though this says on average, I've seen people get houses for 10% plus below the listed price of a home. But every situation is different, so just make sure you do your homework prior to submitting offers. Last but not least, the dreaded months of inventory, the supply and demand. Are prices going up? Are they going to go down? Right now, it just seems like we're gridlocked. Months of inventory came in at 2.6 months of inventory. That's a 52.9% increase from this time last year. I'll say it again, 52.9% increase from this time last year. And it's literally just over 4 times the amount of inventory we had when our peak was the absolute lowest at zero point 0.6 months of inventory. And to be honest with you, I think we might have at one point been around like 0.5. So we're looking at multiples of inventory that we had, and that's why you're seeing so many of these houses sit on the market. That's why you're seeing some of the prices start to come down, but every situation is different. Just keep in mind, I think this is going to continue, and as opposed to when the rates get super low, the prices are going to start skyrocketing again. I don't believe that. There is a certain threshold where people are just not willing to pay for what is out there. And at the end of the day, a house or any product in the world is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. Once these rates start to trickle down in the low to mid fives, I think a lot of sellers that purchased within the last 2 years or so are going to start listing their house. They're going to move to a different neighborhood, a different school district, a bigger house, upgrade, downgrade, whatever the case is. And I think that will jump onto the already increasing inventory that I think we're going to have in the next 6 to 8 plus months. Hit the subscribe button, call, text, or email me if you ever need anything, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.